This is Infinity War.
Wakanda forever!
I really like this movie. And this is Endgame.
Assemble.
Do I like this movie? Yeah. Is it as good as Infinity War?
Absolutely fucking not.
And to understand why, we have to take a look at each of Endgame's three very different hours. I think the first differentiating factor between Infinity War and Endgame really comes down to the structure and setup of the movies. Let's start off with Infinity War. This movie was perfectly set up.
It was perfect. Perfect.
It's the one that Marvel had been building to for over 10 years, so by the time we get there, all of the chess pieces have been put in place so that as soon as Infinity War begins, we just get to jump straight into it. Thanos had already been set up prior to the movie, and even the Infinity Stones, which is what the film centers around, were introduced to audiences all throughout the Infinity Saga, so the movie doesn't waste any time. Like seriously, the first scene of this film, and Thanos has already killed off the entire purpose of Thor Ragnarok. Now, Endgame, on the other hand, is a little bit different. This movie has a lot more responsibilities, and as a result, a setup that is far messier. If Infinity War began with all of the chess pieces perfectly in place, Endgame starts after one of your family members gets mad and throws the chessboard across the room. In other words, things are scattered. The heroes have just lost, so instead of jumping straight into the plot, we first have to deal with the aftermath of Infinity War. So the first hour is spent just regrouping. We have to see where everyone's been for 5 years, try to bring them all back together, and then come up with a plan. Now, this doesn't mean there's nothing to like in the first hour, because there definitely is. Seeing how all of the characters have handled the loss to Thanos and how they've changed leads to a lot of interesting emotional scenes, and Scott's reunion with his daughter, filled with so much confusion and sadness, but also relief and joy at the same time, is one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
You're so big.
I think the problem here, though, is that all of it just ends up being too much for one movie to have to tackle. When you have to visit Steve, then Natasha, then Scott, then Tony, then Bruce, then Thor, then Clint, it's just so much ground to cover, so by the end of the first hour, the movie really starts to drag. And it doesn't help that there's no narrative momentum here, because remember, at this point in the film, the plot hasn't started, as the heroes are still just trying to figure out the plan of what they should even do. And I think this is why, at least through the first hour of Endgame, it really doesn't hold a candle to Infinity War. So instead of burdening Endgame with all of these different story threads to cover, real quick, here's what I think they could have done instead. Rather than having Endgame follow up Infinity War immediately, imagine we had an entire phase in between these two films. So Infinity War ends phase 3, and then we have like 4 or 5 movies that actually take place during the blip before we get to Endgame, which wraps up phase 4 and the Infinity Saga. Why do I recommend this? Well, for starters, this would allow us to actually see our characters changing during the 5 years, instead of having all of their character development take place off screen. And it would make the deaths of the Dusted in Infinity War have an even greater impact, because they would actually be dead for an entire phase of movies. But most important, as it pertains to the topic of this video, it would allow them to take the responsibility that Endgame had of trying to catch up with so many different characters, and instead spread that responsibility across multiple films in the phase. This way, when we get to Endgame, we would have already seen what our characters had been up to during the 5 years, so we could actually get to the main plot of this movie much quicker.
Is he asleep?
No. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Now, speaking of the main plot, the second hour of Endgame is when we finally get there. The heroes are back together, and they have a plan: the time heist. This should be where the movie really kicks into high gear, and it does to an extent, but still, there's something missing, holding it back from reaching the heights of Infinity War. And that is a ticking clock.
That's great! Thank you! What is that?
The concept of a ticking clock in movies is pretty simple to implement. Just give your heroes a goal and then a time limit for achieving that goal. One of the best examples of a ticking clock that I always come back to is in The Dark Knight, when the Joker gives Batman 2 different addresses that he has to try and reach before a bomb goes off, killing the person inside.
He's at 250 52nd Street, and she's on Avenue X. That's just who.
It's simple but effective, leading to one of the most intense, nerve-wracking sequences of the entire movie. Now, Infinity War does a great job of this. The ticking clock in the movie is Thanos. Our heroes are trying to get the Mind Stone out of Vision and destroy it, but with every stone that Thanos collects, the heroes are running out of time. And we, as an audience, feel that urgency. Now, can you tell me what the ticking clock is during the time heist of Endgame? Well, probably not, because there isn't one. The way the mission is set up, the heroes can literally take as long as they want, and it won't matter, because they'll still return to the exact moment in time from which they left. There's really no rush here. The characters have waited 5 years, so they can wait another day, week, or even month. So the time heist as a whole just ends up feeling too relaxed. Like, there's a lot of fun moments that feel like the movie is celebrating the previous 10 years of Marvel, and that's great. But I want the movie that concludes the biggest franchise in film history to also feel intense and high stakes, and not just like a celebration of what has come before. Now, to give credit where credit's due, the less frantic pacing of the time heist compared to much of Infinity War allows for some great slower moments in there, like Tony talking to his dad, Steve getting to see Peggy, and Thor talking to his mom. I just wish they could have found a better balance between these moments and an overall sense of urgency. And the thing is, I think they actually could have achieved this pretty easily. Endgame is a movie that makes up its own rules for time and time travel. It's not following Back to the Future or any other movie's logic, which gives it a lot of flexibility. Therefore, I think it would have been pretty easy for them to introduce some rule that placed a time limit on our hero's mission. For example, perhaps Tony's time-space GPSs were able to send them back into the past, but due to technological limitations, could only return them back to the present within 24 hours of them leaving. So now, if the heroes don't get it done in that time frame, they lose. Now, my solution is not perfect or anything like that, but I hope it illustrates that even a small, simple tweak like this could increase the tension and stakes tremendously.
All right, the gloves are ready. Question is, who's gonna snap their frickin' fingers?
All right. So this brings us to the third and final hour of Endgame, the Battle of Earth. Easily the movie's strongest section, and Infinity War is still better. I'm sorry. I understand this might be a hot take, but if you ask me, the final battle of Infinity War clears Endgame's final battle.
How dare you?
And the reason for that is, well, actually, there's a couple reasons. First, we gotta talk about tone.
I don't like your tone.
The tone of Infinity War's final battles is serious. It's an MCU film, so it's not completely exempt from the out-of-place humor.
Your haircut? Notice you've copied my beard?
But for the most part, the characters are acting in a way that actually matches the situation they're in. The universe is at risk, the stakes are serious, and the characters mostly behave accordingly. Now, Endgame's final battle, I still do enjoy, but the best way I can describe it is that it kind of feels like a victory lap as opposed to an actual struggle. Like, in the middle of this battle, characters are pausing to reunite with one another.
What are you doing?
Jokes are constantly being told.
You missed the first time. Then you got them both the second time.
And there's plenty of fan servicey callbacks.
We're on it, Cap.
And I get it. The movie wants to be a celebration of everything that came before, but I do feel like that comes at a cost, as every joke and callback takes away from the actual tension of the climax. After all, if the characters aren't taking the situation seriously, how could I as a viewer? Now, the second reason that Infinity War's final battle is superior to Endgame's is actually a lot more interesting to me, and that is battle structure. A great battle needs clear objectives, a clear understanding of what each side is trying to achieve. This is important because without it, we wouldn't be able to measure who's winning or losing in a fight. And we need to be able to measure who's winning or losing in a fight to feel the emotional ups and downs that make up a thrilling battle. So with that in mind, let's now take a look at the Battle of Wakanda compared to the Battle of Earth.
No, give me that. You have the little one.
So in the Battle of Wakanda, our hero's objective is clear. Take the stone out of Vision and blow it up before Thanos' army gets to him. And of course, the villain's objective is also clear. Get to Vision before they blow up the stone and give it to Thanos. Simple. And because of this, when things do happen in the battle, we feel the emotional ups and downs as we can tell when they're getting closer or farther away from achieving their goal. For example, when our heroes are forced to open the barrier and then proceed to be overwhelmed by Thanos' army, we feel dread as the villains get closer to achieving their goal. But when Thor shows up, this provides an emotional swing the other way and a sense of hope for our heroes. And this continues to happen throughout the battle. We get a positive swing when Wanda enters the battlefield.
Why was she up there all this time?
Immediately followed by a negative swing.
She's on the field. Take it.
As the villains get closer to Vision in Wanda's absence. We even see this in Infinity War's other battle on Titan. We understand that our heroes are so close to achieving their objective, which makes it all the more dreadful when Quill starts crashing out and they lose their one chance. In the Endgame battle, however, we don't have those clear objectives. We know that Thanos wants the Infinity Gauntlet, but at the start of the battle, it's not even very clear where the Infinity Gauntlet actually is. And as for our heroes, there's really no clear plan at all. Like, we have to ask ourselves, what exactly are they trying to do here? Are most of them just planning on punching and shooting until every single member of Thanos' army is dead?
Not a great plan.
You might have heard the saying, action without purpose is just visual noise. And yeah, that seems to apply pretty well to the start of Endgame's climax. It's not until 3 minutes into this battle that we finally establish clear objectives of what the heroes are trying to do. When Hawkeye says,
Cap! What do you want me to do with this damn thing? Get those stones as far away as possible!
No! We need to get them back where they came from.
Anyone see an ugly brown van out there? Get it started. We'll get the stones to you.
And it's not until 4 minutes in that Thanos even learns where the gauntlet actually is.
Sire.
And it's amazing, because as soon as those objectives are properly integrated into the battle, the intensity and general quality gets so much better, and it actually starts to feel worthy of the movie that it's in. So luckily, Endgame is able to finish on a high note. For all the flaws that I pointed out in this video, Endgame still manages to provide satisfying endings for its characters and the overarching plot of the Infinity Saga. It's not like the movie ruins the franchise and everything that came before, like we've seen in some other stories. It's just that if you ask me, it doesn't quite live up to the heights of its predecessor. But of course, that's just my opinion. Let me know yours down in the comments. If you like this video and you want to see another one, just click somewhere on the screen to do just that, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, but only if you want to.